Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel and the rebuild of our unfinished Sealine SC35. In the last episode we carried on building the framing inside the heads, starting around the portlight, which will form the base for fixing all of the final finishes. We then made sure the framework was as strong and lightweight as possible to keep everything solid without adding unnecessary weight. Then we moved into the shower cubicle, where we began working out the plumbing routes, the position of the shower valve and how to mount it neatly within the frame. Now that all the prep work is done, in this episode we can finally carry on with installing the shower valve and shower outlet, taking another big step forward towards completing the heads. So let's get stuck in. This is coming together now, so we've just drilled a hole in this front. Obviously you can see now that the shower valve is poking through, and then round the back we've just created just a little back plate and then some clips, some pipe clips there just to hold everything in place. So that's now, in fact we've double pipe clipped it, so you can see there's 2 clips per pipe, so that isn't going anywhere, that's nice and solid. And we've also taken some cutouts as well, so just makes it a little bit lighter weight I guess, but also just gives us access. We can reach round and get to this pipe work if we ever need to, because obviously this is going to be bonded and glued into place and screwed, etc., so this isn't coming out once it's in the boat. So yeah, just to get access to all this pipe work is kind of handy. This is just a cover, so this will come off, and then the shower valve fits to that afterwards. I think the only thing we need to do now is cut another hole just here for the shower outlet. In fact, we've got one of those here. It's just a brass one. We were just debating actually whether to use brass or plastic. I think we're going to go with the brass one. It's a little bit heavier I guess, but yeah, it's nice and solid, so we're going to see if we can mount that. Basically this has got to poke through around 5mm, so we'll drill a hole for that and create a little bracket for that to go on, I think. We've created this little back plate now with the right sort of standoff for the height of this little 90-degree elbow. So this is actually a shower outlet, so this will go that way around like that inside that little bracket, and in fact it'll actually go that way, so the pipe work there is then going to go up and we'll go to the shower outlet on the shower valve. Now the only thing I've just noticed is that where we've put this, you can see now, look, there's only a really small gap, so we will need to make sure that when we pre-fit an elbow onto here, because that elbow is then going to come down here and that's going to go that way towards the, I think it'll be the cold feed over here. So yeah, we will need to pre-install that elbow before we fit this. This will be removable anyway. We'll put some screws on the underside and it'll always be removable, but yeah, just that's probably something that we perhaps did miss, but easy to do. So I've just cut a little piece off here so the pipe work can come across and through here. What we're going to do now is disassemble all of this and give these pieces a coat of polyester just to make sure that they're fairly sort of water resistant, and then we can assemble it all back together again. So we're back in the boat and we're just prepping this ceiling piece, panel I guess you would call it. Just put some frame, yeah, masking tape all around the edge there, and then we've also got masking tape around the perimeter, and then we've also sanded the ceiling here, and that's just where the spars on the back, so these spars here will basically hit these spots here where we've sanded, so we can use some glass afterwards. We can get in through the holes here and we'll be able to glass onto the ceiling, which will make it nice and strong. So we've got some Sikaflex 291i and we're just going to run that now around the perimeter. That ceiling frame is all now bonded into place, so we just need to leave that overnight. So next I need to clear this area here. We've got the last piece of floor to go in, that's all prepped in the workshop ready to go. Rich is just mixing up some epoxy and we can get that bonded into place. Good to get that floor in. Resin has now all set up. What we will need to do is just sand all this again, and then what we'll be able to do is put some glass along here and actually glass this floor to the main bulkhead. Probably a little bit overkill, to be honest, but we're going to do it anyway, and then we've got some glassing to do up that edge. But yeah, that is now in and done. And then we've got the ceiling frame in here. The Sikaflex has now gone off, so you can see that bead round there. And then what we've done is just where the we've got some strips of wood in here just holding the frame in the right place, taken that off, and then we've just put this masking tape in, and what we'll do now is just backfill that with Sikaflex just to make a nice neat job of that. And then we've just taken out the well, what would you call it, boxing sort of stroke bulkhead piece that went across here, and what we're going to do now is just drill that for Copex and wiring. So the plan is to drill a hole in that corner there, and that will go through into the forward cabin, and then we're going to run some Copex inside that bulkhead to this motor here, wiper motor, and then I think probably another one that goes back that way as well. And that's just for future proofing really, so that we'll always have access to this windscreen wiper motor, and that means that if we ever need to just pull another cable in, say to the forward cabin, we'll be able to do that retrospectively, because I'm pretty sure we'll either forget a cable or we'll perhaps change our minds and we might need to put another cable in. So yeah, just a little bit of future proofing now will make our lives a lot easier, hopefully in the future. So we've got the bulkhead piece here on the bench. This is where the wiper motor goes. So all we're going to do now is just drill a couple of holes that will get us forward into the forward cabin, probably a 28mm hole, something like that, and then we'll be able to feed 25mm plastic Copex through there. Bulkhead frame now is all set and bonded, so Sikaflex again on the end. We've just put this piece of wood in here just to make sure that we've got an absolutely equal distance between that and our framing at the bottom, because obviously this is where our units are going to fit in, so we need that to be pretty much millimetre perfect. And then you can also see that we've got the holes through the frame as well for wiring, so that goes through there, and then you can see there's a hole right down there at the end that pokes through into the forward cabin. So we'll just leave that to set up now overnight, and then we'll be able to take those supports away. Back into the galley, and we've got this frame now to fix. So we're going to epoxy it down each side. We've just checked it for level, so it's perfectly level and perfectly square as well to both these bulkheads. And then we've also measured down off this framing here just to make sure that that gap is nice and equal, and it is, it's within a millimetre, so that's perfect. So what we'll do now is get this out, we'll coat the back in polyester and give the front a coat of the black. Okay, that's going to be a wrap for today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, give us a thumbs up. We'll see you on the next one.